Chuckie falls for a girl, Emma, who he met at the park. Little does he know that her older brother, Big Binky, has a reputation for being mean to anyone who irritates his sister. In an effort to avoid trouble, Chuckie and Emma decide to play somewhere that Big Binky won't bother them. In the end, Chuckie saves the girl and becomes the tough boy's friend as well. Big Binky ends up throwing away his orange ring pacifier, saying he talks better without it. Meanwhile, Dee Dee and Stu do some exercises, but it gets a little too far for Stu. One bright and sunny day, Stu and Drew decide to bring Tommy, Chuckie, Phil, Lil, and Angelica to one of their favorite places to eat, Piggy's Pinball Pizza Palace. As they roll into the parking lot, Tommy points out the restaurant to his friends in excitement. There it is! Look! Tommy also briefly imitates the pig snort of Piggy, the restaurant's key mascot. Lil enthusiastically adds, Piggy's house! As they drive through the parking lot looking for a place to park, Stu comments to his brother Drew, the kids are really gonna have a ball today. They just installed the new animatronic stage show. Drew adds, that's not all they can install, little bro. Stu enthusiastically replies, you mean I... Drew finishes, that's right. They put the new Reptar and chain pinball machine. Stu exclaims, ooh, that group at last finds a place to park. So they nudge an adjacent vehicle whilst pulling in the space, and they get out and walk toward the restaurant. As they approach the front door, a larger-than-life animatronic of Piggy greets them. Hey there, folks. I'm your old pal Piggy. Come in and pig out on pizza. The group enters a restaurant where the sound of arcade machines fill the air. Walk up to a walk-around on another of the restaurant's characters, Ringo the Bull, who's welcoming guests as they come in. He says to them, howdy there, welcome to Piggy's Pinball Pizza Palace. Have fun, pig out, and follow the rules. And he points to a board behind them that lists of entrance rules. So Ringo the Bull don't have to come over and remind you to play nice. Stu replies, having apparently heard the same thing many times before, to the character, yeah, we know the drill. And the group proceeds onward, though they stop not too long in awe of everything the restaurant has to offer, including the new Reptar pinball machine Drew was talking about earlier. Tommy says to his friends, here we go, guys, Piggy's Pinball Palace, isn't it? But Tommy suddenly interrupted when his cousin Angelica excitedly runs past him, nudging him unintentionally, though rudely, with a sack full of redemption tickets she had been saving. As Angelica runs out in the open, she stays enthusiastically to her doll Cynthia. Oh, Cynthia, I saved for my whole life. And Daddy says I only has to win only one more ribbon of tickets till I can trade for pink toy cards. High on a pence. The Cynthia drive away dream car. Angelica then runs back to her father and says to him, Daddy, I gotta win the rest of the tickets so I can get the Cynthia drive away dream car. Drew hands his daughter a small bit of cash for game tokens, and he tells her to have fun, and she runs off to play. Drew then walks over to his brother and states to him, that'll keep her busy while I show you what a pinball wizard can do. Stu briefly makes a scoffing face and then puts his son in the piglet farm, the restaurant's themed playpen for babies, second like an enclosure for pigs, telling him and his friends to play ball. He shows his brother, who's the real wizard at pinball. Phil points out to everyone enthusiastically, oh boy, the piglet farm. Phil walks over to a bale of hay, whether this is real or fake, it's never made clear, states out loud, looky, cow food, and then eats some of the hay. Lil also puts some of the hay in her diaper, intending to save it for later. Chuckie then nervously says, I just hope we don't end up being piggy food. Angelica plays at a skee-ball machine. She rolls down the machine's ramp and manages to get in the bottom ring. The machine registers 5 points. A bell dings, and the machine dispenses the final amount of tickets Angelica needs to get to Cynthia Giveaway dream car. Angelica cheers and laughs the utmost glee. She receives her ribbon of tickets, yells out loud that she won, and then dances around the venue, celebration, swinging her ribbon of tickets around and singing a sing-song. I've got the tickets, the Cynthia Driveway dream cars, me, ma ha ha e, ma ha ha ha, I ma ha ha ha, I do do da, do do da da da. Call the babies, looking onward at Angelica celebrating and wondering why she's so excited. Chuckie sees Angelica looks happy and Lil replies in question, suppose she finded a bug in her hair? Tommy adds that he believes it's because Angelica won that pretty ribbon she wanted. Into the restaurant's dressing room, for the performers who play the walk-around characters, 5 costumes are more the restaurant's walk around characters. A cat, a duck, a dog, a bull, presumably a second Ringo, and another pig, although this could be a spare Piggy costume, and are hanging on a rack on the wall, and a male performer is dressing up in a Piggy walk-around costume. This particular Piggy costume he's putting on is also equipped with a motorized spinning pigtail, which is rigged and sharp, with its on and off switch on the left wrist. The performer tests the tail, which checks out okay, and puts on the costume's head, saying to himself, "Okay, kiddies, it's showtime." As a Piggy character walks out of the dressing room and onto the restaurant, Tommy points him out. Chuckie, who's apparently nervous about Piggy, states quietly to himself, "Oh, poop," as Piggy interacts with a few of the other kids. Angelica excitedly dances up behind him and states to him and sings song, "Hey, Pig, I just got a Cynthia Driveway dream car," whilst continuing to swing her ribbon of tickets around. The performer, however, doesn't notice Angelica. But just then, Angelica accidentally swings her tickets in the character's motorized tail and they get tangled up in the spinning tail. The performer doesn't notice this and walks away. Angelica, not understanding the performer doesn't know about the tickets and thinking that the character intentionally stole them from her, angrily shouts to Piggy, "Hey, you dumb pig, come back here," and then runs after him. But Angelica, being Angelica, rather than getting the character's attention and telling him about the tickets so he can give them back, violently kicks the character down in a karate-like fashion, shouting "K!" and attempts to pin him on the floor, despite being much smaller and lighter. Angelica's rampage is interrupted by the Ringo the Bull character from earlier, who, without noticing Angelica's tickets caught on Piggy's tail, picks Angelica up and takes her over to the restaurant's pig pen, a small cell for unruly guests, without consulting with Drew first. The character proceeds to look Angelica in the cell for 10 minutes, telling her, "Sorry, kid, you know the rules. You gotta do 10 in the pig pen if you get rough with Piggy or his barnyard friends." Angelica replies, sobbing, but it wasn't my fault." The character locks the defenseless Angelica in it. She starts to cry. Drew is too busy playing pinball with his brother to notice what the restaurant has just done to his own flesh and blood without consulting with him first. Let the baby see the whole thing from the piglet farm. Tommy points out to his friends, "Did you guys see that? Piggy just stole Angelica's ribbon." A shocked Phil adds in, "Just when she's about to get her Cynthia car she's been saving up for." Chuckie further states, "I told you he was trouble." Bull further points out, "And they give her time out in the pig pen, too." Tommy concurs, "It's not fair. Now we have to fix it. We gotta get that ribbon back for Angelica." Phil and Will reply, "Yeah." They raise their fists in the air. Stu and Drew are at the Reptar pinball machine. Drew's playing and Stu's watching. As Drew plays, he states to his brother that wrist tension is the key. Stu scoffingly replies, "Oh, thanks, bro, but I don't take tips from amateurs. You know, in the 10th grade, I won the flat zipper tournament." Drew replies in an intimidating tone, "I know you still have the trophy on display in your living room." Stu adds in determination, "That's correct." The babies have managed to get out of the piglet farm and are crawling past Stu and Drew, who are too preoccupied to notice. Tommy stops the Piggy walk-around character, telling his friends, "There he is!" They see Piggy, with Angelica's tickets still caught in his tail, walk behind the other side of the restaurant's larger-than-life ball pit, which is made up of non-rigid thin plastic liner, like what a large backyard pool would be made of. Tommy tells his friends that they will have to go through the ball pit in order to catch up to Piggy. Chuckie nervously says to himself, "Oh, I know this wasn't gonna be easy." Tommy and his friends walk up a small flight of stairs and through a short, rigid tube that leads into the ball pit, and Tommy dives in. Chuckie, on the other hand, upon looking down at the balls, hesitates to jump in with Tommy, thinking that he doesn't remember how to swim. Phil comes up behind him and speaks that he'll remind him, and then he pushes Chuckie into the balls. Chuckie struggles to the surface and gasps for breath. Phil and Will then jump in, and Tommy tells everyone to do the doggy waddle, like his dog, Spike. Tommy and the twins manage to swim to the other side of the pit, but Chuckie struggles to get himself going. Tommy looks over to the other side of the pit and sees the Piggy walk around with Angelica's tickets caught on its tail, and the performer still not aware of it. But he then hears his best friend Chuckie desperately calling for help as he's sinking into the balls and can't get out. Just as Tommy sees Piggy enter the dressing room, Tommy turns back to help Chuckie, and he begins to desperately dig through the balls, throwing them around as he does so to find the now submerged Chuckie. Chuckie manages to raise his right hand above the surface and desperately tells Tommy that he can't make it. Alas, Tommy finds Chuckie, takes his hand, and pulls him to the surface. A grateful Chuckie thanks Tommy. As Tommy and Chuckie catch up to Phil and Lil, They look over the side of the ball pit, and Lil asks where Piggy went. Tommy catches up and points out the door he saw Piggy walk through, and they climb over the side and slide along the side back down on the floor. But it's a dangerous fall for them. The babies somehow avoid injuring themselves, thank goodness. Meanwhile, back in the Reptar pinball machine, Stu is now playing and Drew is watching. As Stu plays and racks up an impressive score, higher than what his brother got, he says to his brother, "The real secret, bro, is to let it flow. You have to become one with the machine." Drew replies in denial and slight jealousy. "Are you talking about pinball? You're trying to give me a dance lesson." Stu utters sarcastically, "You can help with both," as he continues to add on to his impressive score. Back on the babies, who are around the dressing room, Piggy walk around there looking for her, is however nowhere in sight, but the babies and notice 5 other walk-around costumes: the cat, the duck, the dog, the bull, and the pig that are hanging on the rack. The babies don't understand, however, that the 5 characters are just inanimate costumes and performers have to be wearing them to bring them to life. Tommy tries to ask them where Piggy went, but of course the inanimate costumes don't reply. Chuckie points out that he doesn't find the characters to be friendly. Tommy thinks for a brief moment and then figures that the characters didn't reply because they're animals and can't talk like he and his friends can. They all decide to try talking to the characters in animal talk. Phil slowly states empty dog and cow costumes, "Woof, woof, moo," but of course the costumes are unable to reply. Phil states, "Oinkity, oinkity," to the empty pig costume, and of course doesn't reply either. Chuckie slowly states, "Quack, quack, quackity quack," to the duck costume and doesn't reply. Tommy then says something rather unusual to the dog costume. Costume, of course, still doesn't reply, but Phil will Chuckie look at Tommy and wonder what he just said. And Tommy notices. Tommy explains to his friends, "My grandpa Boris always says that to Spike." Chuckie then looks around and notices a small door. He points out to everyone else. Lil observes that the door is just their size, and Phil adds that it must be for them. Tommy then leads his friends through the door, saying goodbye to the inanimate costumes as they depart. Angelica is impatiently pacing the floor inside the locked pig pen. The babies are walking through the small door. The door happens to lead under the stage for the restaurant's new animatronic show. The babies, however, are not certain where they are, and Chuckie comments that it looks scary to him. Tommy then looks around for a light button, and then he notices a button on a piece of machinery that's next to him and pushes it. The button, which is presumably there to allow technicians to test the show while working on it from under the stage, starts up the show, and the active equipment lights up the space under the stage. The show's curtain rises. The animatronics up on stage begin to move around, and the music plays. The Piggy animatronic introduces itself and encourages the show audience to enjoy the show and pig out on the pizza. The Ringo the Bull walk-around character who's guarding Angelica hears the show starting and says to himself, "Oh, that's weird," and he checks his watch. The show's not supposed to start for 3 minutes. As the show continues, the babies hear the Piggy animatronic up on stage, and Tommy notices that it's up a flight of stairs and leads up onto the stage. Not understanding that the Piggy animatronic on stage and the Piggy walk-around are 2 different Piggies, the babies proceed to go up on stage to approach Piggy and get Angelica's tickets back. On the way out, Phil pushes the red button again to turn on the lights. This shuts down the show. The music stops playing, the animatronic stops moving, and the curtain closes. The Ringo the Bull walk-around scratches his head in confusion. Meanwhile, back at the Reptar pinball machine, Drew is playing again and Stu is watching. Drew accidentally knocks into Stu, and the machine registers an illegal tilt. Stu tells his brother he tilted the machine and steps up to take his turn, but Drew denies that he tilted the machine and feels Stu pushed it. He refuses to switch places with Stu. The 2 brothers then begin a fight over whose turn it is. Back on the now deactivated animatronic stage, the babies find that the inactive Piggy animatronic, and Tommy points out that he has a lot of friends that are animatronics. As they walk up to Piggy, Lil asks where Angelica's ribbon is. Tommy replies that Piggy must have put it someplace, even though he wasn't wearing a diaper like they are. Tommy then points out the pockets on the overalls on the animatronic Piggy is wearing, unlike the walk-around, which doesn't have any clothes, and directs Chuckie to climb up on him and retrieve Angelica's tickets. Chuckie nervously tries to back out of it by questioning what would happen if he woke Piggy up. He feels that Piggy would be extra cranky. Tommy points out that Chuckie is the tallest, and they are counting on him. Chuckie hesitates and nervously sighs twice. Says to Tommy that he wants him to have his potty should something happen to him. As Chuckie quickly and impressively climbs on the Piggy animatronic, Lil accidentally walks backwards into a large lever on the floor and also turns the show on and off. This turns it back on with Chuckie on top of the tall reactivated animatronic. The curtain opens and the music starts playing, and the Piggy animatronic begins to open the show to the audience again. Girl and her father are in the audience enjoying their pizza, and she spots Chuckie on Piggy. Daddy, look at the boy on Piggy. He almost looks real. Chuckie gets tossed around as the Piggy animatronic moves about, and he accidentally smashes a large gap in the animatronic and gets thrown onto the floor. Chuckie, who's fortunately not seriously hurt, sighs to himself and says that all he wanted was a slice of pizza. Back in the audience, the father and the little girl notices the babies and openly wonders what they're doing on stage. The little girl, feeling jealous, tells her father that she wants to be on stage too. Chuckie then notices the damage he caused to the Piggy animatronic. He points out to his friends in panic and feels that Piggy will now be very mad at him for what he had done. As the broken animatronic further glitches itself to dysfunction, Tommy then looks inside the large gap that Chuckie accidentally made and realizes the animatronic is not the real Piggy. It's just a robot. Chuckie replies in relief, "It is?" Tommy points out to him that the animatronic is full of metal stuff, and Phil concurs that the real Piggy would be full of pizza. The babies then march off the stage and find the real Piggy. All the while, the show continues to glitch up, and an alarm eventually blares. The Ringo the Bull walk around, who's keeping an eye on Angelica, and notices the malfunctioning show and walks over to see what's going on. Angelica notices that he's gone and the door is somehow unlocked and opens by itself. Angelica runs around and shouts out loud, "I'm free!" Meanwhile, in the dressing room, Farmer, who's still performing the Piggy walk around and still doesn't notice Angelica's tickets caught in his costume's tails, finishing up bandaging his right leg, having been slightly injured after his encounter with Angelica. Here's a malfunctioning animatronic show and says to himself that it sounds like trouble. He puts his costume's head back on and walks back out into the restaurant. Tommy immediately spots the Piggy walk around as soon as he walks back out, and Lil points out that he's wearing Angelica's ribbon on his tail. Tommy tells his friends, "Let's get him," and they all begin marching toward Piggy, though Chuckie hesitates nervously at first. Angelica also spots the pig and intends to take him down again. Before she can do so, however, the Ringo the Bull walk-around walks up to Angelica, asks her how she got out, and picks her up to put her back in the pig pen, feeling her 10 minutes aren't up yet, still without consulting with Drew first. This time he struggles to hold her, resisting Angelica and bring her back as she tries to free herself. The performer inside Piggy doesn't notice this and only continues along, but he does eventually notice Tommy, Chuckie, Phil, and Lil coming toward him, and he feels it's because they love his character and want a hug. Stops him from the ball pit, bends down and spreads his arms for a hug. But the babies jump into him and send him backwards to the ball pit, where a sharp tail rips the ball pit's thin plastic liner and destroys it, sending a huge avalanche of balls over the restaurant. As he's knocked over and carried away in the resulting avalanche, the huge avalanche of plastic balls plunges straight into the Ringo the Bull walk-around before he can think to do anything about it. Whilst holding Angelica, the balls send Piggy straight into Ringo and knock him over, causing him to release Angelica and allowing her to grab her tickets off Piggy's tail before being carried away in the huge avalanche of balls. The balls are also carrying the baby straight towards Stu and Drew. Stu and Drew plays and Stu watches, but Stu notices the balls and the babies coming towards them and tries to warn his brother as he backs away nervously. Stu's actions are too little and too late, and Drew is too preoccupied to notice. They both are violently buried and carried away before both of them, plus Angelica and the babies come to rest in front of the prize redemption counter, and quite fortunately, no one is injured. The group's afternoon at the restaurant is ruined, and so is the restaurant itself. Nevertheless, Stu and the babies have a good laugh. Drew is too shaken up to laugh, and Angelica was still able to trade away her tickets and get her Cynthia driveway dream car. A little later on, the balls have been cleaned up. The restaurant has also apparently forced Stu and Drew to help clean up the balls. See them walk by with buckets full of balls and plain expressions on their faces, and see Angelica playing happily with her new car. As the babies watch, Tommy, having not seen what really happened, says to his best friend, "See, Chuckie, our old pal Piggy gave back the ribbon after all." Chuckie rebuttals a slight bit of remaining answering, well, I guess he wasn't so bad. And Piggy walk around is now bandaged in more places than just his right leg, having been injured further in the avalanche, and walks over and to bid them farewell as they're apparently about to leave for the day. "Bye-bye, kitties. Come back soon and visit your old pal Piggy." The character also bends down and does his trademark pig snorting for them, and this startles a freaked out Chuckie into screaming.